Start with the ordinary first impression and sustain it long enough for it to feel authentic. Back in July 2025, when astronomers logged 3I/Atlas, it barely made the ledger. Just a footnote, the third interstellar traveler ever spotted crossing our solar system. Set the standard expectation: a floating rock, a quiet guest, a statistical oddity. The opening needs to be calm, bordering on dismissive, because that very contrast is the engine that drives everything coming next. But when the James Webb Telescope fixed its gaze, it found a glow emanating from the object's interior. Not surface warmth from the sun, but heat from its core. Then the data deepened. Layer the four mounting revelations that frame the rest of this video: the rhythmic heat pulse, the radio transmissions, the trajectory shift, the synthetic materials. Don't explain them yet. List them sequentially with the gravity of a doctor reading symptoms they already identify and dread. Music, close in on the main assertion. There's something inside 3I/Atlas. Music, and James Webb might have just verified that it is alive. Standard interstellar bodies flicker and fade chaotically as they tumble, vent gas, or catch sunlight at odd angles. Noisy, inconsistent, ruled by geometry and physics. 3I/Atlas displayed none of that. Its luminosity stayed unnervingly flat. Describe that flatness not as comforting, but as wrong, the sort of stillness that comes before something happens. Then, define the thermal anomaly with precision. Every 4 hours, a heat surge welled up from the core and reseated in a flawless cycle. The glow was focused and central, not diffuse like solar heating, but radiating from a single internal point. The timing ignored rotation, solar wind, or distance from the sun. It came from the inside, independent of the outside. And by dropping the word the scientists refused to use on the record, thermal anomaly. But privately, among those closest to the data, heartbeat. Frame that term not as hype, but as the most precise descriptor for a slow, intentional pulse, resonating less like stellar radiation and more like an engine breathing in the void. As the thermal readings became undeniable, global observatories swung their receivers around. Music, for days, the feed showed nothing. Then the Allen telescope array caught it. A thin, narrow-band signal rising in perfect sync with the thermal spikes. Walk through the elimination process that proved the signal was real. The initial reaction was doubt. Noise, glitches, artifacts. But after weeks of identical readings from multiple independent facilities and Fourier analysis revealing a stable carrier wave unlike natural cosmic noise, every natural explanation was ruled out. What was left was a signal that was steady, precise, and adaptive, showing tiny shifts that tracked with the solar wind. Deliver the exchange as the section's pivotal moment. Scientists beamed out a structured transmission, prime numbers, elements, mathematical constants, briefly explaining why these are the universal tongues of intelligence. Then, present the answer. 72 hours later, faint but precise to the second. Something had received the message, processed it, and replied. Close not with celebration, but with the quiet, dizzying realization that the universe just spoke back. Present the flare as the first visible proof of agency, rather than just an anomaly. On August 18th, Webb's continuous feed caught a sudden power surge, brightness jumping 40% in under an hour. Establish why this kills the natural comet theory. Even the most volatile comets don't produce clean, sudden surges of this magnitude. The flare was sharp, intentional, and brief. It looked less like geology and more like ignition. Describe the trajectory shift and why nature cannot explain it. Hours after the flare, modelers recalculated 3I/Atlas's path and found shift. It was steering toward the ecliptic, aligning strictly with the inner solar system. The European Space Agency ran simulations blaming outgassing or radiation pressure, but the thrust needed outstripped any natural mechanism. Music, and on the most unsettling implication. The flare and the turn happened together. One triggered the other. No known space rock has ever changed its own path with purpose. Frame the conclusion the data demanded. If the signal was heard, if the scan was registered, then 3I/Atlas responded, not with words, but with movement. Whatever is on board just made its first deliberate move toward us. With the pulse, the contact, and the course correction verified, researchers ramped up spectroscopic analysis everywhere. The Johns Hopkins team dissected every wavelength Webb could send. Standard cosmic chemistry was there, water, ice, carbon dioxide, but superimposed by something entirely out of place. Detail the engineered materials specifically. Absorption lines surfaced that nature never records. Some pointed to alloys, including rare earth elements used in precision manufacturing on Earth. Others pointed to quantum materials found only in theoretical physics papers, never in the wild. These weren't random cosmic compounds. They were structured at a molecular level to do things natural materials cannot. Bring in the metamaterial signature as the most chilling detail. Certain infrared reflections match the optical profiles of metamaterials engineered to bend light, the same class used in stealth technology. Close by reframing what we know. 3I/Atlas wasn't just active, communicating, or navigating. It was built, and if the materials are synthetic, the question isn't what is it? It is who built it, when, and why is it here? Caltech researchers moved past simple signal analysis to listen across the spectrum, mapping resonance to see the shape beneath the surface. They found not a point source, but a mass acting as a resonant chamber. Describe the hum. Every few hours, a reverberation swept across the X-band and microwave spectrum, echoing back to Earth with non-random precision. When analysts reversed it, slowed it, and layered it over human speech spectrograms, structured patterns emerged. Not a known language, but the architecture of communication. Present two interpretations without solving them. The optimistic view. The object is adapting to us, learning to speak in a way we recognize. The darker view. We aren't hearing the object, but something inside it, stirring, reacting to stimuli it hasn't felt in eons, preparing not to talk, but to emerge. New infrared imaging from Webb revealed a moving interior structure, not shifting debris in a tumbling rock, but a spiral rotating on a fixed axis, stable even as the outer shell tumbled. Inertia should spin the whole mass. The spiral acted as if it were decoupled from local physics. Describe the golden ratio discovery as the game changer. The spiral's dimensions followed the golden ratio recursively at 3 distinct scales. In nature, this appears in DNA, shells, galaxies. It comes from life optimizing itself. It is never found in cold, dead space rock. This isn't an accident. It is a signature, a fingerprint of design, and perhaps awareness. A sudden drop in luminosity triggered an alert. High contrast imaging ruled out shadows instantly. Music, the data, showed something unprecedented in astronomy. A part of the surface moved, not cracking under stress, but retracting mechanically. Describe the panel and the cavity. Rectangular, smooth, reflecting light at angles impossible for natural ice. Infrared showed no debris or venting, just a stable, cold, engineered space amidst a dynamic exterior. A chamber controlled, preserved, and waiting. Close on the orientation and what came out. The cavity opened facing Earth. And as 3I/Atlas flew on, it held that alignment. It didn't drift. From inside, a second pulse registered, slower, stronger, different. The data now held 2 rhythms. Something separate from the vessel had just woken up. NASA Ames fed the spectral data through biological databases, looking for molecular matches. What they found: trace compounds in the emission spectrum resembling biological polymers. Not DNA, but synthetic analogs of organic tissue. Describe the material's responsiveness as the key detail. Music: these compounds changed shape when hit by solar radiation. Programmability: the ability to take input and give output. On Earth, that's the basis of life and biotech. In 3I/Atlas, it's a feature. The biopolymer find shatters the categories. 3I/Atlas is neither alive like a cell nor a machine like a rover. It is something else. A vessel, a seed, a message made of matter. And whatever it is waking up. Physicists cross-referencing gravitational lensing with the trajectory found an anomaly. This vector had been recorded before, not in telescopes, but encoded in geology and archaeology across planets. Mars, Europa, Earth. Space assets joined the hunt. Hubble, despite its age, provided high-res imaging. Webb continued the infrared watch. It was international collaboration at its peak, transcending borders for science. Music, as the date neared, focus shifted to a potential Mars impact. Orbiters would have a front-row seat to an unprecedented event. Cameras could catch the kinetic flash. Spectrometers could read the debris. Sensors could track the plume. It would be the most documented impact in history, rivaling Shoemaker-Levy 9. The location mattered. An impact in the northern lowlands might hit ice. The poles could vaporize CO2, changing the atmosphere. A hit near a rover might even be filmed from the ground, however unlikely. Planetary defense entered the chat, but differently. Earth has shields. Mars has none. This offered a chance to study impact mechanics to better protect Earth later. Music, but the philosophical weight was heavy. Mars is our next frontier. Artemis and SpaceX are looking that way. If 3I/Atlas hit Mars, it would highlight the danger. The thin atmosphere that can't stop a meteor won't protect a colony. Understanding this is key for our multiplanetary future. As the final hours tick down, astronomers squeeze the data dry. Rotation rates implied an elongated shape, though whether it was cigar-shaped like Oumuamua or cometary like Borisov was unclear. Webb surface analysis suggested a hybrid, silicates and carbon, bridging the gap between asteroid and comet, perhaps born in a foreign solar system. The countdown became a global fixation. Scientists and amateurs alike tracked it. Music, social media swirled with science and conspiracy. NASA walked the tightrope of communication, keeping the public informed without inducing panic. It wasn't hitting Earth, but it was a massive educational moment. The final approach depends on geometry and speed. At 30 kilometers per second, 3I/Atlas would close the gap fast. 1 minute safe, the next, impact or bypass. No slow motion drama, just a brutal math of kinetic energy. But then, the data showed a modulation, an internal shift occurring exactly when analysis was active, as if it sensed the scan and adapted. Name this moment. The team called it the veil. It was the first clear proof that 3I/Atlas wasn't just being watched. It was deciding what to show. Music, adaptive camouflage isn't natural. It belongs to intelligence with secrets. Whatever is at the core chose to hide, and it was aware enough to make that choice. Refined analysis placed the origin 100 light-years away. At this speed, the trip takes 500,000 years. Yet the object showed no wear, no fuel signature, no deceleration. The math didn't work. An MIT team proposed the only fix, time dilation navigation. Not faster than light travel, but using space-time geometry to compress the journey. If it has done this before, if it has visited across cosmic timescales, it has seen things we missed. The first life, the moon forming, every extinction. Music, it was here while we became us, watching the whole time. The breakthrough came not from a physicist, but a data sculptor, Lucia Fun. Visualizing the resonance data, she found a pattern algorithms missed, described the face and the proof against pareidolia. When rendered, the resonance showed a symmetrical, elongated, organized face. Dismissed at first as a trick of the mind, analysis proved it was encoded deliberately, repeated across scales and instruments. Close on the meaning. Music, it wasn't a map or a formula. It was an identity. Here is what I am. Here is what is looking at you. The message shifted from math to the personal. It wanted to be recognized, and now it was visible. Webb identified a light trap near the spiral, a region holding light without converting it to heat. A gravitational map suggested an interior larger than its exterior. An archive, civilizational records, blueprints, memories of dead species. The lock might be a test, and we might be passing it. Music. For centuries, we looked up, assuming the answer would arrive on our terms. 3. Atlas flips that. It didn't answer our search. It arrived on a timeline that started before we had telescopes. Stack the evidence in one final beat. It pulsed like a heart. It answered like a mind. It turned to meet us. It opened a panel and revealed a second heartbeat. Music. It holds synthetic materials and encoded a face in its song. Maybe it wasn't meant to reach Earth. Maybe Earth was meant to reach it. And now that contact is made, through signals and recognition, one truth remains. We've been noticed. And once noticed, there is no returning to the universe we thought we lived in. Stay, because this story is not over. I'd love to hear what you think about this, so drop a comment below. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please share this video and subscribe to help the channel grow. Every bit of support counts.